the January Champions Edge call. I'm Coach Dan Foster, and it is so great to be with you this morning. Thank you for taking time out of your day, the last day of January, and what a better way to spend it than going into 30 minutes of just professional development and personal development. Today we're going to be talking about leadership in the new year. And, you know, with a new year comes new challenges and as well as new opportunities for both our business as well as our personal lives. And with the new year, there's also a new call to leadership. And this is a call that's probably different for all of us. It's unique to each of our businesses. It's unique to each of our personal lives. We may find ourselves in a situation where we're thriving. We have increased revenue. We have profitability. We have growth in market share. We may be seeing the expansion of our products and our services into territories that we've never been before. You may also be experiencing some struggle, though. In your industry, you may be experiencing layoffs still. You may be feeling that financial squeeze from banks or investors, and you're feeling pressure to cut costs and make changes just to make sure that you can keep the lights on and the doors open to serve your clients. You know, there's so many things in this new year that are going to be calling for our attention. And the call of leadership, though, is one of those calls that we have got to answer. It's coming from those that work from us, and it's coming from those that we love and that we serve. You see, those people need us to show up. They need us to engage. They need us to be great leaders. And if we don't answer that call, then there's going to be trouble. And a lot of us on the phone today might be asking the question, you know, do I have what it takes? You know, and what exactly makes a great leader? Well, the answer to the first question is yes, you do have what it takes. And I think you have what it takes based on your experience, based on your gifts and your talents and just the passion that you bring to the table each day. That's what makes you unique. It's also what can start to define your leadership style. And when you take your experience and you take that uniqueness of you and you marry it with the attributes of great leaders, then you will find yourself equipped to answer that call of leadership for those that you love and serve. And whether that be in your personal life, your community, or in your business, if you don't strive towards great leadership, if you don't develop these key attributes, then we end up leaving success to chance. We risk becoming disengaged to our greatest calling of just loving and serving others. If we don't lead, then we lose our purpose and we fail to achieve just the overall vision and the mission of our organizations and our teams. And in the end, it's not just us that, you know, can't sleep at night and suffer. It's our families, it's our society, it's the world around us, it's our organizations that suffer because they need us to be great leaders right now. Today, we're going to be looking at 10 attributes of great leaders. Now, guys, these are not all of the attributes of great leaders. By no means have we done, you know, just thousands of hours of research and said, these are the 10 and this is the only 10. No. You may possess an attribute that maybe is not listed here today. Maybe it's not mentioned. You may know of other attributes that you've experienced based on being led by someone, and an experience that you had with a great leader, or maybe an experience that you've had leading others. You may have identified some other attributes. But today what I ask that you do is not listen to agree or to disagree, but just simply to consider and to reflect on what we're talking about here and these 10 attributes that we've outlined. And I'd ask that you evaluate where you're at in your development in each of these key areas. So let's jump in. The first attribute of a great leader is that they're a visionary. You see, a visionary leader has clearly articulated the direction and the future for their team and their organization. They know where they're headed, and their ideas, they draw people into that vision. Those people want to become contributing members of that vision. They want to belong to it. We know that people want to belong to something bigger than just making widgets or providing a service. They want to belong to a vision. They want to help the vision become a reality. And they want to build onto that vision in their unique way. They want to come under the umbrella of a great leader's vision and bring their unique style to it, put their stamp on it. President John F. Kennedy's vision of having the United States lead the world in exploring space and other planets and really putting a man on the moon was an example of a visionary leader. Because of his vision, a generation of people rallied around him and around NASA. Children started buying toy rockets. Young adults in college started changing their majors from maybe marketing and business to science and engineering. Everyone wanted to see the U.S. beat the Soviets to the moon. So my question for you is, do you have a vision for your business? Do you have a vision for your team? Do you know where you want to be in the next 5 to 10 years? The second attribute of a great leader is that they have the ability to execute. This type of leader is able to turn words into action and inspire others to just give their best every single day when they show up to work. They know the vision of the organization, and they have a strategy in place to execute on it effectively, no matter what the circumstances are. And we know this is important because customers, employees, and just the community, they will be drawn to your vision and to your organization because of how you communicate vision. But they will be loyal. Let me repeat that. They will be loyal to you because of your ability to execute on that vision and execute your plan with excellence. A great example of this is Major Richard Winters, who on D-Day parachuted into France just outside of Normandy, and 90% of his men were unaccounted for. Yet he was able to rally just a small group of soldiers from different companies, bringing together the few that he was able to find from his own, and they were able to join together and charge towards 4 German guns that were just pounding the beaches of Normandy, killing Allied soldiers left and right. And they charged these guns, and they were able to destroy them. They were able to take these guns out because Major Winters said, if I don't do this, then we will never be able to achieve the vision of liberating Europe. If we don't take out these guns, if we don't execute on what we're supposed to do, yes, we've lost 90% of our men, but we can do this. It would have been tragedy, more tragedy on that day in Normandy. The ability to execute your plans and live out your vision will inspire others to greatness. It'll create loyalty, it'll create trust, and it's going to increase the overall performance in your organization. So I ask you, are you a leader that gets things done, or are you someone that just talks about getting things done? The third attribute of a great leader is that they're a people builder. And a people builder is a leader that invests time and resources into the personal development of their team and those that they serve. We know that people thrive on encouragement. We know that they thrive on opportunities for growth and learning new skills. And we all want to be encouraged in our areas of passion and areas that we're gifted in. We want to be able to go to that next level. John Maxwell is someone that he preaches, he writes, he speaks, And he's made it his life mission to develop leaders around the world in all kinds of industries and in all different types of organizations. He is someone that is constantly helping people to go to the next level. You see, when your team is focused on personal development, when your organization makes personal development of others a priority, it leads to not only just improved performance, but it leads to a legacy of performance and the development of future leaders in the organization. So I ask you, who are you pouring into and helping to develop into a great leader? The fourth attribute of great leaders is that they surround themselves with other leaders. You know, this type of leader is confident. They're secure enough in themselves to have other talented and gifted people serving by their side, just day in and day out. An organization cannot build a legacy of performance and service if it's driven by only one leader that monopolizes the vision and then the execution of the strategy for that vision. Steve Jobs always believed that having the best talent and leaders surrounding him would take his company to the highest level possible. He viewed his job as removing all obstacles to let them explore and create and develop new products that we all love, that are in our homes now. You see, when an organization is able to attract the best talent in the marketplace and then provide a path for these leaders to seize opportunities and to become key stakeholders in the future of the organization, then that becomes a legacy of leadership and a legacy that you can leave behind, that you have raised up the next generation of leaders. When you surround yourself with other leaders, you allow for greater collaboration. Do you feel threatened by others in your organization because they do something better than you do? Ask yourself that question. The fifth attribute of a great leader is that they're a risk taker. You know, a risk taker is not afraid to try new strategies, adapt to the ever-changing markets that they're in, and implement the ideas of their team members that are in the trenches every day, that have ways to improve the way they're doing things. They take these calculated risks that bring them closer to achieving their vision. And we know this is important because opportunities, they don't always present themselves in a nice box with a little bow on top. The speed at which our economy and the world is moving, it requires a leader to rise to the present challenges and to do something different, to seize those opportunities, to take those risks. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was someone that set out to change the mindset of all Americans during the 1960s, a very tumultuous time in our country. He chose a Christian message of hope and love and peace and respect rather than the traditional violence that was associated with social change and social justice. You see, he risked his life day in and day out to make this vision of his, this dream that he had, a reality. As a leader, taking appropriate risks demonstrates courage. It demonstrates ingenuity. And it is a commitment to your employees and to those you love and serve. And when they see this in you, they in turn will take similar risks that align with your vision and potentially produce those results that maybe you never thought were possible. So I ask you, what opportunity is in front of you right now that would take just a huge leap of faith and require you to embrace risk? The sixth attribute of a great leader is that they're willing to listen and they're willing to be challenged. See, this type of leader cares to hear the other viewpoints in the room, not just their own. They're willing to change their mind when it's appropriate, when they've been challenged in the right way. And man, this is so important because the people that you're working with, they want to know that their voice is being heard. They want to see the organization listening to them, taking action when appropriate based on their ideas. President Lincoln was a great example of this. He asked his political adversaries to become key members of his presidential cabinet. You see, he loved debate. He loved hearing opposing viewpoints. It helped him know whether or not his viewpoint was based on the right convictions, the right values, and the right vision. It gave him a chance to dialogue and to figure out, is this the right course of action? You see, when a leader fosters that type of environment where people can express their views openly, candidly, and with respect, then it leads to great buy-in and commitment to whatever decision eventually gets made. We have found that people will often support a decision that they didn't agree with at the beginning just because their voice was heard and they had the chance to argue for their position. So as a leader, how are your listening skills? Are you open to other people's point of view? The seventh attribute of a great leader is that they are an excellent communicator. You see, an excellent communicator not only speaks well, but they connect with their audience. They don't sugarcoat issues. They don't manipulate conversations. They don't use some sort of passive-aggressive style of communication. And people and organizations, they thrive on excellent communication. When there is uncertainty and a lack of clarity, it leads to poor decision-making, and it leads to fractures within an organization's culture. Great example of a leader that was an excellent communicator. In fact, he is known as the great communicator. That is one of his titles, was President Ronald Reagan. He had the ability to communicate and connect with the American people like very few other presidents. He was excellent at explaining the reality of an economic depression in the early 1980s and late 1970s, but he was also great at giving the American people hope for a better future. And sometimes he did it in very funny ways, as you can see from the quote there on the screen. You see, people may not necessarily agree with you. I know a lot of people did not agree with all of Ronald Reagan's policies and his administration. But people may not necessarily agree with you, but they will respect you for communicating openly with them. Because this, and what happens is this leads to great loyalty. It then leads to overall improved performance by your team. When they have clearly defined expectations from their leader for how they're supposed to perform, what's expected of them, they're able to do their jobs with excellence. And at the end of each day, you end up having an overall healthy organization when you have excellent communication. So what are you doing to improve your communication with those that you love and those that you serve? The eighth attribute of a great leader is that they're a person of character. This type of leader consistently returns to the convictions and the values of the team and the organization when they have to make really tough decisions, when they've got to evaluate an opportunity. There are so many competing forces out there trying to influence our decisions. An organization's convictions provide a filtering tool in which just all types of decisions can be made. You see, our employees, our families, our communities, they're all watching us. They're watching to see how we respond as leaders to challenges, to opportunities. And our character is a reflection of those decisions, and it's a reflection of what's in our heart. A great example of this is Major Sullivan Ballou, a name you're not going to find in too many textbooks, a name you're not going to find too many places as it relates to the Civil War. But this major, you see, he believed in freedom for all Americans. He believed that our nation should not be divided between North and South. And he knew the example that he was setting for his children when he chose to serve his country in the Civil War. And he wrote a beautiful, loving, patriotic letter to his wife about 1 week before he died, stating that he was going to war not for riches or for profit or for glory, but because of his convictions. He went to war to serve his country because of his convictions, even if it meant his death. You see, a leader's decisions, they reflect the values of the organization, and they should be in line with its vision and its mission. When you're a leader of character, it creates stability, and it helps to maintain your culture in challenging times. It prevents you from going down rabbit trails that have nothing to do with the overall vision of the organization. It prevents you from being swayed from outside forces, from influences that could potentially cause you to fail as a leader. Before people can buy into your vision, they must first buy into you. How would people describe your character? The 9th attribute of a great leader is that they're humble. You see, a humble leader doesn't consider themselves better than everyone else on the team. They don't consider themselves to be the best in the company. They're confident and they're assertive, but their ego isn't so big that it damages relationships. They connect with everyone regardless of their status, their rank, their salary level. You see, a humble leader creates a service-oriented culture within an organization, which leads to community, better decision-making, and just a clear prioritization around service and not pride and not ego. Service and people become the priority, not pride or ego. Mother Teresa is a phenomenal example of this type of leader. She served the needs of others for over 60 years. And it was her humble leadership that led to homes, schools, medical clinics being opened up all over India. She extended the grace that had been shown to her in her own life to everyone that she came in contact with, touching the lives of millions of people in India. You see, guys, as a result of being a humble leader, people stop operating within the silos of their departments and their divisions or maybe their branches in the organization. People strive to achieve not for personal glory, but for the achievement of the organization's overall vision. It's what we call having shared purpose. It's what we call having shared goals. And people want to work on them together as a team for the benefit of everyone on the team. So I ask you, are you more focused on personal success than the success of your organization? The 10th and final attribute of a great leader is that they believe in accountability. You see, a leader that believes in accountability, they're not afraid to be personally held accountable, and they're not afraid to hold others accountable to performance standards. They don't fear conflict because they know that the conflict that might arise in accountability is what leads to greater performance. It's what leads to bringing out the best in others in that team, on their team. True success is when an organization's vision is married to a disciplined execution of that strategy through accountability. Great example of this is George Marshall. He created what is famously known as the Marshall Plan to rebuild Europe after World War II. His ability to hold the foreign governments, leaders, people that were left in this war-torn region accountable and set clear performance expectations, it helped these participating European states surpass their pre-war economies by 35% in just 3 years. Within 3 years of devastation, of war, having entire markets blown to smithereens, industries collapsed, he was able, through the Marshall Plan and through holding people accountable, to increase their economies by 35% over what they were before the war. You see, when a leader believes in accountability, mediocrity is not allowed to exist. Average is not okay. Employees have clear action plans and expectations for performance. Improvement, development, and execution become the goals, not perfection. People don't fear conflict that is created in accountability because it leads to the overall greater success and development of themselves and the team overall. So I ask you, are you willing to be held accountable? And do you have the courage to hold others accountable? There is no doubt that a call to leadership is out there. Those that follow us, our loved ones, those we serve, man, they need us to lead. And I want to leave you with 3 questions. First one, where is the leadership opportunity for you this year? Number 2, what leadership attributes do you need to embrace and develop? And finally, what will happen if you choose not to lead? Answer the leadership call, my friends. If you don't, the people that you work with, the people that you love, the people that you serve, they may never call back. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed these 10 attributes. It's been great to have you on the call today. God bless you. Make it a great day, and I hope you have a great start to 2013. We will talk to you in the month of February. Take care.